Welcome to the best thing about this Tuesday. Here is your pick me up for the slowest day of the week. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about my company and why I named it what I did. So, my company is named Nectar Brand Therapy. And the reason that I named it this is because I have always had a fascination with bees. I just think they're wonderful. And our entire survival as humans is pretty much based on their work. They help us in so many ways that they're like the silent fairy godmother. And I just kind of wanted to highlight that and speak on how I help others through what bees do. So bees, worker bees go out into the world and they find flowers with pollen. They cross-pollinate so that more flowers can come, and they bring that pollen also back to the hive and they make honey with it. So my whole concept was I want to help your bees make better honey. So you have your own hive, you're doing your own thing. All I want to do is help your bees make better honey. I don't want to reinvent the flower. I don't want to, make the pollen different. No, no, no. We're not messing with anything besides making the honey better. So, you know, that concept for business to me was like really dope because it's highlighting exactly what I want to do to help. And then, my two initials besides L for Lucy are B and B. So it's always just been very relevant to me that like bees, B everywhere. And so then the second part, brand therapy, is it's something that in the beginning, I thought that I kind of like made up a little. I wasn't doing any research about this. I was just kind of thinking about what I want to offer people, what I'm good at, all the things that I've kind of talked about already. And brand therapy was something that it makes you think. It makes you sit there and think about like what that would mean, brand therapy. Okay. So it provokes thought, but it's not like hard to digest. If you really thought about what that means, you could probably piece it together in a way that gets you pretty much to the finish line. It may not be every single thing that you think, but you're on the right track. Whereas like business counseling or business coaching, those two things are very like tired. It just feels like when you hear those words, you know exactly what someone is offering you, you know exactly what comes with those things. There's no newness, there's no nuance. It's just very like flat. A lot of them deal with like statistics and analysis and, like the bottom line and like making sure you're financially amazing and doing super well based on your, and like, while those things are important, while it's very important to make money and it's very important to do well, that's not all there is to it. And I wanted to come up with something new that sounded new, that felt new, and that also didn't fall into these categories where like you need a degree to do it or you need some big certification. Because essentially what those two roles or titles are doing are treating you like a number. They're treating you just like a cookie cut client, and they're looking at your business the same way, and they're just pumping you out. And it just didn't feel like those things were applicable to the millennials and the Gen Zs. Millennials and Gen Zs have statistically shown across the board that we are interested far more in soft skills than we are in technical skills. So technical skills are like degrees, certifications, like machine, right? Analysis, statistics. And then soft skills are like problem solving, empathy, effective communication, things that feel far more important, but in the business world are so deprioritized because everybody is so focused on money, 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 money. Like there's no other thing that can exist here. We just have to make money. And again, like I said, while that is very important and we still need to focus on that, the technical skills there are not what's going to get you there over the soft skills. So if you think about what the technical skills that you need to know to learn the job that you're doing, they are less transferable job to job than the soft skills are. The soft skills that you learn and that you can master will help you across every job you've ever had and ever will have. They are the fundamental basis of just being an employee, being a person. And the technical skills are the addition. So every single job you get, no matter if it's a promotion, no matter if it's another complete industry, or just simply like you're moving from one company to the next, but doing the same like title, you're going to need to learn the technical skills that that company needs from you. But they're not ever going to teach you the soft skills. They're literally never going to teach you them. Sure, they might teach you a little shortcut here and there and problem solving that could go into the category of problem solving, but they're not going to like sit there and teach you how to be a leader and teach you how to like be empathetic towards your employees or your clients, or that all has to be baked into you already. And that's what they don't tell you about. So when you go off on your own and you are starting your own company, you're an employee. Like in your head, you're an employee. Even if you were a boss, you were an employee. And you're coming from this place where like that's your brain, that's your mindset. And that's like deeply not how you get business. It's just not. It's maybe how you do the business, like the work for the business, but to get clients, to get people to trust you, to get, business in your doors, your soft skills are 100% what you're going to rely on more. So again, having people trust you, having your vibes be good, having authenticity come through when you talk to somebody, when you meet with somebody, like having them feel valued. All of these things are what in brand therapy, are going to highlight. And so the brand therapy is not highlighting you as an individual, right? So we're not going to get into any childhood trauma here, but we are going to get into the brand, the therapy needed for the brand. So again, it's where do you want to go? What does your company need? If it's just you, these questions can be easier to answer. But if it's a small group of people that are trying to get to the finish line, get to the goals, what do we need? And like, how do we get there? What do you think? And what do you think? And what do you think? And as much as a lot of people don't think that this is important, and that's fine. If you don't think this is important, we don't need to deal with it. But I think it's very, very important to talk about birth charts. And we're not going to get into the huge nitty grittiness, but like your top three, what are your top three? What's your sign? And what are your big three? Again, this might not be something that you know a lot about, and it's not going to be something that steers the bus. We're not going to rely on it for this work, but it plays a big part. And it can tell me, and it can also tell you. You don't have to look into it, but you can, and it can help you. It can tell both of us what type of thing you like, what type of thing you might be just naturally good at, what you might try. And within a company, there are so many roles, so many things that need focus, and you might not even know. It's almost like if you think about like when I was in younger and in college and stuff, I played field hockey, and my whole life I was a defender. My whole entire field hockey career as a defender. And then when I got to college, they told me that I should be on offense. And I was like, whoa, like I do not think that's best. But we had so many defense players that they kind of needed to shuffle things around. So they tried me on offense. And still to this day, I played offense all 4 years of college. And still to this day, I don't really feel like that was a good choice. I didn't really shine in college. I didn't really feel like I was playing at my best potential. But the switch up was the only way I knew that. I had never played offense. I didn't know how I was going to do. It's the exact same thing. You go into business and you're like, no, I'm really good at this. And I've been doing it for this whole time and I'm trained in it and all this stuff. But there's two ways to know if you really are. One of the ways is to try something new see how you are at the other things. And the other thing is to be tested at what you are doing and see if it's the right place for you. Of course, you can try things and go back. You don't have to like jump to this, place and only stay there and regret jumping in the first place. But trying new things, seeing where you fit in is going to not only benefit you, but benefit the whole company so, so, so much. And it's going to make you feel better in the end of the day to know that you're in the right place. So these are all things that are like brand therapy. Focusing on, if you were to think about like bringing your brand to therapy, not you, your brand, and to talk about what it needs, what's not working, what feels like pain points, what feels too hard. And this is the place where we all come together and we really just paint the full picture. We put all the cards on the table and we decide what should stay, what should leave, what gets shuffled around. And then I actually come up with some steps for everybody to take and some check-ins and then sort of a forward plan. So I have a couple different packages, different offerings for different levels of this company and business and whatever. So like if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a small business, if you just started out, if you haven't even started yet, if you are pretty established but you're kind of in a rut, there's all these different things that I can offer to all these different, like I said, levels of business and cater to you guys. But it's also just very custom. You start at a level, right? But it's all very custom. Nothing is going to feel cookie cut. It's going to be me and you or your small team just sitting down, getting through this stuff. I really do focus on the soft skills. Like I said, it's not everything. It's definitely not everything. But it always brings me back to these moments in corporate where, like you have this deadline and you're working so hard to get to this deadline. You're putting in overtime and you're at the office till 10 o'clock, or you're leaving at 5 and you're racing home to eat dinner and log back on. And you really think to yourself for a second, like, why is this deadline so important? Why couldn't my boss give me another day or another 2 days, or like worst case scenario, another week? We're not doing brain surgery. There's nobody's life is on the line. Why is my company showing me right to my face without hiding any of it that this deadline is more important than my mental health, my well-being, my like work-life balance? They're quite literally saying, suck it up and do it. We have a deadline. Instead of saying, wow, my employee is burnt out. She is going to start hating her job. She's going to start to show up as less of a worker because she's so depleted because this project has taken so much from her. They don't care. They do not care. And that is the point where we have to recognize all of those toxic things we need to leave with corporate. When you go out into the world on your own, you sometimes have this employee mentality. Like even if you're a boss in your last job, you have this employee mentality where like, hustle, hustle, hustle. You got to make it work. You got to do all the things. You got to work until midnight. You got to make it all work. And it's not realistic. It's quite literally not how the world works, especially if you leave America and you see how the rest of the world functions. Nobody has this type of toxicity in the workplace quite like Americans. And acting like, I'll just speak on my own, like acting like, like a fabric deadline or a getting all the buys in the system deadline, making it so that you have to work until 10:30 at night is literally not worth it. It's not worth it. It just isn't. It's not. And you can have all the intentions in the world of working towards a deadline and trying really hard to get there and needing another day. These things have to be able to be understood. And if they're not, like, what are we even giving all of our time to these people? Your boss probably doesn't own the company. Your boss is literally there to facilitate what the owners or the CEOs or whatever want for the company. Why are they making you feel like it's life or death? They don't own this. It's not their money, right? And these bosses are literally getting paid more money if their workers are asking for less. That is just seriously so toxic. That is not something that I ever want to be a part of. And I never want to make someone feel like that if they're my employee. And again, you get back to how important these soft skills are. If I go to work every single day and I feel like there's an energy vampire sucking all of my energy out, and that's just one day, right? I worked until 10 p.m. that night and I feel completely depleted. I didn't have any time for myself. I barely had time to eat dinner, didn't get to spend time with my dogs or my whatever. And now I gotta go to sleep, wake up, and do it all again the next day. And what if it's only Monday? Now you gotta do it again for 5 days. Like, absolutely not. And then you only have these 2 piddly days off and you got to start that shit again. So it's like every single day you're getting more depleted and more depleted and more depleted. And now let's think about a job that's even more demanding. It is kind of hard to think about that because it was so freaking demanding and so draining. But let's talk about like lawyers. I have a really close friend that's a lawyer, and she, went to college and she took some time after that and she worked in law firms and big, huge ones in the city. And then she went and got a little, she did a little program that got more on her resume, and then she went to law school. And she was so sure of what she wanted. She wanted to be a lawyer. She had lawyers in the family. She knew what it looked like. But she was so focused with her eye on the prize of getting this law degree and passing the bar and getting this job with the big salary that all the technical skills were put first. Like, she wasn't even thinking about soft skills. She's the type of person that like would work twice as hard just to be as good as somebody that maybe these things came supernatural to. She did not care what it took. She was going to be one of the top kids in her class, and she was going to prove herself every single step of the way. And she was built for it. She's still built for it. But then she got it all, right? She got all the things, and she looked around and realized, this sucks. This is trash. I don't really like my job that much. I'm a lawyer, right? I spent all the money and all the time to become the lawyer. And now the more senior lawyers work me to the bone. She's working like 70 hours a week, working all weekends, barely having any time to herself. Time off is like a thing. Did we go through all of this technical training and rigorous testing to get to a place where we don't even like it? I have somebody in my family with the same exact story. Like, you have your eye on the prize so hard that you're not checking in with yourself. You're not asking if this feels good. You're not even asking if you like this. And then you get to the end goal. I'm her. I'm the lawyer. I have the title. I have all the credentials. Pass the bar, like I said. And now you're in your job and you're making the big bucks and you got all the things. And then you realize money's not happiness. All of my relationships are neglected, and not a lot of people are there for me. My partner might feel neglected. I want to spend more time with my partner, but I can't because work comes first. It's so much sacrifice. It's so much sacrifice. So then you say, okay, I'm going to put 7 years in doing this type of work. I'm going to grind. I'm going to, work my way up. And then hopefully by 7 years, I'll be a little more senior. And then I don't have to work this hard. Maybe I'll go to another firm. Maybe I'll, put my time in somewhere else. Or at least I'll dial back a little because I'll be more senior. There'll be people underneath me that are going to be the new me, and I'll get to be the ones, giving work down to the new lawyers. But by year 4, you're like, I'm looking at an uphill battle and it is steep as hell. It is Everest in front of me, and what's behind me is not big enough. I'm not there. I'm not at the top. And I don't know if I can get to the top of this mountain. It sucks. I got frostbite on 5 toes. I only got 5 left, okay? We're barely halfway there. So like literally then what? Then what? It kind of goes back to my last episode of like, you have put in so much time and effort to get to this place. You're good at this one thing and now you hate it. Or you really, really, really don't. It makes you miserable. Now what? What, do you start over? You don't even have soft skills. Or if you do, they're very, very small. They're almost unnecessary, because when you get to these elite levels of jobs like lawyers and these high up jobs, soft skills are less important. You can kind of be an asshole. You can be a dick. You can do all these things and no one's going to tell you you are one, because a lot of them are. They kind of need some stress relief, so they take it out on other people. So their soft skills are dead. So it's just, it just all goes back to how important the therapy of the brand is. A lot of people don't believe in therapy, or they don't want to go to therapy, which is absolutely baffling to me, because I don't think that there's any human being on earth that would not benefit from therapy. But, go figure, whatever. There's a difference between talking about yourself and talking about your career or a company you want to make. And it feels a little less vulnerable, a little less personal. And I think sometimes people can understand the value in these things when it's not about you specifically. Like I was saying, it's not about your childhood trauma. So I think that once you frame it that way, it can be a little bit more palatable. And when I was, in the very beginning of the stages of thinking about what brand therapy even meant to me, I looked online to see if anybody else was using this title of like brand therapy. And yeah, there are definitely people using it. And what they're using it for is some, there's some crossover with what I'm offering and then what they are offering, but they're also trying to add layers to it. So they're also offering like marketing tips, or like print ads, like the literal ads, or website help, or just like all these extra sort of add-ons. And don't get me wrong, I can understand the value of those things. I can understand why somebody might want to have a couple things. But I think that once somebody realizes the help that I can provide for them can give them a leg up with all of these other things without my help, that they're going to see the value. And I'm not trying to sell you 9 different, services and hook you in and do all this extra shit. I'm really focused on what I'm good at. And I think that that's very authentic, because I'm also focused on getting you to be doing what you are very good at. And so I'm not preaching something that I'm not really good at. I don't want to be out here acting like I'm good at 95 things and, just pick one. Sure, I'm good at a lot of things, but I'm not the master in everything. I don't want to be out here cocky or egotistical. That's just not who I am. I want to offer people the thing that I am the best at. Right? So when you look at what you're the best at and you look at the things that fit you the most, you stay in line with those things. I have always been very, very sort of clear cut on that. Back when I was a music manager for my best friend long ago, he used to always say to me, like, I don't know how I'm supposed to like juggle the financial aspects of it, juggle the marketing, the ticket sales, juggle like the mastering, like the music mastering, all these things, and be a rapper. Like, how am I supposed to know how to do all this stuff? And this was the first time that I really sat back and thought to myself, all you're supposed to be good at right now is rapping. If that's what you want to be doing, if that's what your calling feels like it is, that's what you should be doing. And once we get along the road, we can hire more help. We can get you people to do all of these things, right? You don't need to feel like you have to master all of these things when that's not your calling. That's not what you like. And it's very important to preserve your skills. I just very much believe that. And sure, like obviously you need to know how to do all of these things. Like I said to him, you need to know how to master your music, and you need to know how to, sell tickets to people you don't know. You need to know how to do these things, but you don't need to be a master at it. You don't need to be the one doing it every single time. And there's always going to be a time and a place for like, you're in the studio, that's all you need to be like thinking about and talking about and worried about. But then once that's done and it's laid down, the track is laid down, then you can focus on other stuff, or you can focus on writing another song or whatever the case is. But again, staying within your skills and not trying to be good at everything is something that is very, very undervalued. And I understand that some of these things can be expensive. And when we first start out doing things, it's not always available to us to have all this help along the way. But I think that it's a little more available than we make it seem like it is. And I can, again, help in these ways to show you that like you're really good at this thing. And you have shown not only me, but this little group we're sitting with or the leadership that you are really, really good at this thing. So why are you trying to like go do this or like go do that? Like, why can't you stay where you're valued? It's almost like people feel like, oh, that's easy. Like, I just want to go to the next step. I want to achieve the next thing, get to the next pillar. And it's like, yeah, okay. And that's great. We should all be striving to learn more and striving to be better at what we're doing. But that doesn't mean we need to overcomplicate it. If you don't feel value in what you're doing, that is when you should reach for something else. But if you feel valued, if you like what you're doing, all you should be reaching for is the next step in your path. Not over here, not over here, just in your path. Once you get up there, you can learn as much other stuff as you want. Whenever you want to learn more stuff, you can learn it. But again, you don't need to leave something that feels good to feel like you're not as valuable. There's always going to be different places and times that the players in the game, the players at the company are going to be more or less valuable. That's just kind of how it works. And we can't all be as important as each other all the time. There are check-ins that we have to do as a small group of people that runs a business together. We have to always be in lockstep. We have to always, have love for each other, have respect. Huge, huge, huge thing is to keep respect at the top of this, because there's going to be times that someone hits the ear wrong, what they say hits the ear wrong, or someone makes a move that you don't like. And if you don't have the effective communication in those moments to tell this person that you didn't like that, or that it doesn't work for you, or you think it was a bad choice, then what? You just start to resent them. You start to like jab them or make little petty choices to like sabotage them. I was even watching a TV show the other day about this couple, and the man, the husband's boss, another guy, was hitting on the wife, and they were trying to triangulate together to try and make him work harder or make him do all this stuff. And just that concept of like, oh, I'm your husband's boss. I can get him to do anything you want as long as you give me something in return. Oh, yeah. Like, I don't care about him. What do you need? What do you want? I'll help you get it. It's like, really? Like, you don't care about your workers so much. It's literally shown on TV. It's not like one of these things where they're exaggerating it for TV. It's literally a depiction of what really happens every single day. So if you start to have, and then you later on in the TV show, you find out like why he's willing to do that. Oh, like Tom did this thing and it really pissed me off and he didn't think I was going to notice. And so now I want to get revenge on him. Some boss you are. You can't even pull your employee aside and talk to them about what happened, ask them why they did something. No, you're just going to like be petty back. Tom might not have even known that what he did bothered you. He might not have even clocked that it was something that you wouldn't like. Maybe he thought it was going to be something that worked for everybody. And here you are hating on him without even telling him. This is an everyday thing. And all of these employees constantly feel like they have to be hyper aware of all the things that they do and all the ways that people feel about them every single day. Otherwise, they're going to get like, cut or not put on this project or undervalued or like underused or like laid off, like demoted. Bad things might happen if you're not 2 steps ahead of your biggest hater. Like, really? That is so disgusting to me. And I just am very dedicated to breaking this notion of corporate and what it does to the workers, how much it turns us against each other. It's quite literally the same as politics. It turns everybody against each other. We have no unity. We have completely lost sight of how important unity is in all places. And if you work for a company that you don't even feel united in, you don't feel like you can ask for help because you're not going to get the promotion. You don't feel like you can lean on your coworkers because they're going to go tell your boss, or nobody has your best interests at heart. Like, what are we doing? Why would you ever sign up for that? So my whole thing within brand therapy, circling back, is that we all matter. We all matter a great deal. And being happy at work, 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, that matters. It just matters. And I've been at companies that deeply did not prioritize the employee, and I've been at companies that do prioritize the employee. And the difference in the teams, the difference in morale, the difference in day-to-day function of the company, how much energy people have every single day that they show up with, willingness, flexibility, helping somebody out when it's a little bit too much for them, but doing it because it's for the teamwork. That's what you want. That's what you want to focus on building. And again, that company that I was just talking about is the only company that I've ever worked for that has said to me when I was going through the interview process, we would much rather hire somebody that we feel matches our personalities, because all the other stuff can be taught. All the technical skills can be taught, but the soft skills really can't. If you have that corporate mentality of stepping on somebody's head to get to the next level and dogging your coworkers and doing anything you can to get to the top, we don't want you. Because sure, you'll be a hard worker, but you're going to ruin what we've built. You're going to take away and devalue all of the hard work that we've put into the love and the supportive environment that we harbor every single day. So that's not interesting to us. That's not valuable. And I could not believe hearing that in a job interview. I could not believe how dope that felt. I'd never felt like that in my life. I didn't even know that existed. And again, those types of environments and those types of interactions, they remind you just how important that is. And you think to yourself, oh my God, this is the first time I've ever realized that I've never been offered that. Even back to my first job when I was 16 in the grocery store, never had that, never felt that. So I have realized over the years just how important this is, and just how much people in this country lack the awareness of this and don't realize how they are not extended this. And even bosses that feel like they do have it extended, it's not as much as it should be. So I don't know, that lack felt like something I could fill in, and teaching somebody about how to value themselves more, and to work for some place that has soft skills as number one, or to start something of their own that prioritizes those soft skills. I can do that. And I'm good at that. And I've been doing that. I just didn't realize I was doing it. That's the help that I've been providing so many people. So it felt right. And I love it. It's so rewarding. And the feedback that I've gotten has been even more rewarding after they've kind of put our plans into practice. So yeah, that's been the journey of the brand therapy that I have taken on. And even though there's no certificate for this or no college degree for this, it's either something you know how to do, you're born with doing it, or it's just not who you are. And that's okay. There's a space for everybody. There's a role for everybody. And it's all about finding it, right? So that is how I found it. And if you ever want to work with me, I will help you find it. And until then, I will see you next week on Tuesday for episode 9.